Sharing the live stream.
Using
This meeting is being live streamed, yeah? So got it. Okay. Done, directing to YouTube. Sharing the live stream.
using
This meeting is being live streamed, yeah? So got it. Okay.
I know.
All right. Done, directing to YouTube. Sharing the live stream. This meeting is being live streamed, yeah? So got it. Okay. There seems to be a delay from what I'm seeing.
Mhm.
So let's just go ahead and start talking about this, the topic of today, which is healing the world, and well, which is actually, the topic is really healing emotional trauma. So on today's we could call it podcast. We've got Heidi Romer, who's gonna share with us her own tips and knowledge. Myself, Martin Bogusz, and we've got Kamak Sagiani, correct?
Yes, correct.
Who's also gonna share her things. So yeah, so emotional trauma, right? It seems to be a big topic. Considering everybody has had some sort of emotional trauma in their life, big or small. Some may be very difficult to transform and let go of, and some may be very relatively easy. So yeah, Heidi, would you like to say something from yourself?
Do you want an introduction, or are we diving into the topic?
Just be free. Just take off from here. Just enjoy. Be yourself.
Okay. So I've learned a lot through my own healing journey. And when we're talking about trauma, period, I like to sum it up simply that trauma is anything that happens too strong or too fast for our body to assimilate and work through or process. And we're expression beings, meaning we're meant to express. And when we don't allow ourselves to feel these emotions and express them, we repress, suppress, and then become depressed. And so it's really, really important that we allow ourselves to process through and feel these emotions, and not just name them with our mind, but actually go within our body and feel them somatically. And somatic just means specifically with our body, meaning vibrational. So it's not just saying, oh, I'm angry or whatever. It's seeing like, what's going on in my body? Is it getting hot? Is the vibration just like chaotic? Just really feeling what it feels like. You can give it a color, you can give it a texture if you feel like. Sometimes it's like a bowling ball in my gut that's black, just really, I like to close my eyes and just focus on that. Mm-hmm. But knowing that when we experience trauma, it just means that it was too much for our body to process, means that whenever we get triggered or have something that brings up these similar thoughts and feelings, it's just showing us that it needs to be brought back into wholeness and be reintegrated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. All righty. And how about you, Kamak? Kamak, what do you think? What would you like to say about that?
I want to add something about my journey actually. Before I go to emotional eating, which is all these traumas that Heidi was explaining pretty good on that. She described it. All of them can end up to other symptoms that now, not only if you haven't healed those traumas, it end up with different problems that you will face in your life, throughout your life. One of them is emotional eating. which whatever triggers you at some point, then you start eating by soothing it, kind of soothe you. It's like a reward that you give your body to either numb that feeling or emotion. So you don't understand, or you don't go through that trauma, or don't think about it or heal it. So definitely something needs to be healed, or you have to sit with your emotion and work on that. And then throughout the journey, if you want to also work on your emotional eating.
So you're saying that the root cause of emotional eating is basically some kind of unresolved trauma, right? Emotional trauma,
Exactly.
right?
That's
Or
how
it could be. Mhm.
Yes.
So it could be a way of basically avoiding trauma by stuffing oneself up with food, or perhaps another addictive substance like alcohol or drugs, in order to
That's
numb oneself, right? And sort of avoid feeling the pain, right?
exactly. That's how you basically numb yourself, your nervous system, just not to either think about that trauma, or because it's there still. It's on your background, back of your mind. It's up on subconscious mind, but you don't want to face it. So you just go with other substances just to numb that nervous system.
Right, right. Okay. Okay. How about you, Heidi? What would you like to say from here at this point?
I think it's really important to go at healing with in lots of different aspects, the mind, body, spirit kind of a thing. It's not just a mental thing that you need to talk out. It's utilizing movement and breath work and or any other modality that calls to you, as long as it's a way that is bringing you back to self, because I think therein lies the answers to healing. And I believe that the beginning of healing is awareness. You can't start to heal what you're not aware of, or manage what you're not aware of. And so first key to healing, I feel, is awareness of self. And the second most important thing is awareness without judgment or criticism. Because in experiencing trauma, we usually become our own worst enemy and not a safe place to land. So we need to be able to cultivate a sense of trust and safety within self first, as we move forward into the integration process.
Mhm. And what makes you say that we become our own enemy?
Because trauma encapsulates the experiences that we have, but our mind tries to make sense of the experiences that we have. And I think therein lies the problem, is when we try to create a story or make sense of what we've experienced. And a lot of times these things happen when we're younger. And in this time of life where we are creating and looking outside of ourselves to see where we fit in, how do we give and receive love? Where do we fit in society, in our family? And it's really detrimental when we experience trauma in these ages, just because we look so much to other people and we assume that it must mean something about ourselves because our outside world isn't going well. Whether it's managing, feeling like we have to manage our parents' emotions, whether it's abuse, neglect, adoption with abandonment issues. Like, there's so many things that happen. And I think it's just our natural tendency as children to make it mean something about ourselves.
Mhm, mhm. Interesting. Yeah, it's very true. I find that a lot of the emotional trauma that's unresolved starts from our childhood, maybe even before. I mean, we could maybe even go to a point to, during conception, of the mother. or maybe epigenetically, right? Which could be connected to former generations, or some people may want to talk about karma, right? Former lifetimes. If people believe in reincarnation, for example, right? I mean, there is that possibility that we carry on certain stuff from before, not necessarily this lifetime, right? So yeah, it's interesting. So it looks like there is a level of attachment, right, to this to whatever happened, because perhaps we start to identify as a victim, right, rather than seeing that whatever's happening for us in our life is happening for us rather than to us.
The cool thing, what you just said with attachment, is there is an attachment to the situation when we haven't resolved our emotional aspect of that situation. Once we allow ourselves to assimilate and integrate and bring into wholeness any of the emotions that are associated with the experience, there's no longer that attachment. You're no longer triggered by talking about that situation, and it leaves us available and more willing to see the experience with a new perspective and possibly even a willingness to learn from what has happened. But you can't step into that mode or that reality until you work through and process the emotional aspect, because there is a tether and a tie.
Right. It seems to me like, based on my experiences in my life, one of the biggest things for me was to learn to love myself, to become my own parent, my own mother, my own father, my own best friend at one point. And until I reached that level where I could love myself and forgive myself and forgive everybody else as well, for the sake of my own health and my own sanity, I was suffering. It was very difficult to disidentify from what happened before, because only through love, through love, true love for oneself, we can transform, I believe, any and all energies that are not harmonious within ourselves, because love transforms, especially unconditional love that we can all generate within our own hearts. Not necessarily, because so many people look for love outside of themselves, trying to access that to become happy and feel good. And that's not the place to look for love, obviously, because then we are looking for conditional love, usually outside of ourselves, since most human beings haven't learned to love themselves even, in most cases. But when we access our own love, unconditional love within ourselves, it can act as a very potent medicine for pretty much anything. And the way I like to think of it is like, sending this energy from my heart, throughout my body, letting it spread throughout my body. And as this energy spreads like light, it touches any part of myself. And when it touches that part of myself, it transforms it. And it doesn't necessarily have to come from my heart, from the center of my heart, but it can, or from the heart chakra. It can come from outside of myself, because we are all energy beings living this human physical experience, or we can say we are spiritual beings having a human experience that are connected to the infinite energy of the universe. Some people call it God, some people call it all kinds of things, right? Allah, Tao, Brahma, whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing we're all talking about ultimately. And the beautiful thing is that that's always available to us at any point if we choose to access that. So I find that a lot of the self-healing part comes from allowing ourselves to be guided from within, to receive the proper guidance to transform. Sometimes we're looking outside, but instead, if we were to ask and sit down and ask, like, what can I do? How can I transform this? Like, you can ask, guide me the universe, or whatever you want to call it, and see what happens. Maybe you'll get some kind of an image or some kind of an intuitive hunch to do something, or maybe to go and find a book or something like that, you know. So there's always the guidance is always there because we're all connected. And for me, for example, I remember when I was 16 years old, and I went through a really difficult period in my life, and I'm not reliving. The idea is not to relive the past. We can review it, but when I go to that particular event, I remember I was 16 years old. I was critically ill, and I got 3 months to 6 months to live. And at that point, my own parents kicked me out because they thought I was nuts. And in fact, I had every proof because you know, that I wasn't well. And it was really difficult for me because I had no one else to rely on. So psychologically, I was breaking down, and physically, I was breaking down, and I felt like my life was it was basically better to be dead than alive. And it's interesting because at that point, I had to reassess myself, you know, like, you know, okay, am I going to live a life as a victim, or am I going to live a life as a victor, as somebody who is who's going to transform my life, or take in my hands? And when I dropped the role of the victim, and I remember at this one point I was in a park sitting among the trees, and I was meditating, and out of a sudden I got this kind of a idea to sort of visualize myself that I was kind of burning, and I was burning myself into ashes, completely dissolving myself, so that there was no more self, no more identity, no more pain, no more emotions. And strangely enough, after I did that process, which took me probably about 2 hours of just sitting there and seeing myself on fire, and then afterwards, once I burnt myself into the ashes, I kind of visualized myself reconstructing myself from those ashes as a new purified version of myself. And when this happened, suddenly I was completely free of all the pain I had, of all the emotional stuff that was holding me back. It was truly freeing. I don't know how else I would have made it through at that point, because I was really in a super difficult situation, which could have been even potentially suicidal, although I never felt that way. But it was I was about to crack psychologically, and just visualizing myself on fire to a point where all the fire was dissolving and burning away all my emotions, I was able to free myself. And yeah, so that's something that, that was something that was guided to me. And that's what I'm saying, that we all have the access to this guidance that can come to us in different forms of, intuitive hunches, different types of images, people we meet in our life, books we get in our hands, and all that. Yeah, so yeah.
Just to add up something to what you said, is that what I did just to face with my emotions or unhealed traumas, I started an emotion diary just to see that what triggers me to go and eat more. So there are lots of these triggers out there. You don't know even you have them until you put it in words and write it down. Whenever you eat, when you're not hungry, but you eat, you feel that urge to go and eat, to just calm yourself down. So write it down. There's so many of them, like betrayals, feeling unwanted, you unneeded, or being neglected. So many of those are there, being excluded. So all of them, when you write it down, you at least know what they are and then cope with that. Let's say you're eating when you're stressed. So now you are going and relieve your stress by yoga, by meditation, breath work, what Heidi is doing, by meditation that you are offering as well. So these are the things definitely everybody should consider. Just first of all, to see what emotions really, or what traumas they haven't dealt with so far. or they are still there.
Absolutely. And I think that's exactly what Heidi said, right? Awareness is the key.
Yeah.
Awareness are the first steps. Otherwise, if we are not aware what we are, what's triggering us, right? How can we change that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I love what you said, Kamak, about writing it down, because if you write it down, then you can see the trend, the patterns, and also you can ask yourself, what is it giving me? What is eating more offering me? Because that you're seeking something, and overeating, for example, gives you that, or addictions give you that in a roundabout way. So finding out what you're seeking, what you're getting from that also has an answer as to like, what do you really want?
True. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. But also, I think it would be very useful to write not just the trigger, but also what would be the opposite of the trigger. Like, what would you like to transform the trigger into? Like, for example, if you have fear, you can transform fear into faith, right? So focusing, because the key thing is, where do we focus our mind? Do we focus on our mind on the pain, or do we focus on or do we focus our mind on that which we want? Because a lot of people focus their mind on what they don't want, and on the painful experiences, and they relive that in their mind over and over again, oftentimes, because it brings up the pain again. But if we focus the mind on what it is we want and how we would like to be, then the energy gets moved in the direction to co-create a new identity.
Yeah, I think that's really important. In my experience, I haven't been able to redirect my mind until I have clarity on the emotional side of things. And for example, there was an interaction with my husband. He said some words. I got angry and triggered, and I immediately just, we were going to bed. So I rolled over and started writing on my phone in my notes, because that's where I journal, and trying to get really clear on what moment in the conversation did I turn in my thoughts? What did it mean? What did I feel? All of these different things. And once I got it all out, I started getting angry at myself. And I was like, anger's offering me something, or else I wouldn't have continued to do this to myself. And so I went through, okay, what is anger offering me? And it provided safety in a way, because I didn't want him to see me as weak or vulnerable, or that, emotional, because having emotions is weakness, or all of these things. In essence, anger was my cover up. I went to anger because I didn't want to be vulnerable. So I love that you said, yes, it is a reframe. And in my experience, reframing is very powerful. However, I have to usually have clarity on all the messy stuff before I can step into reframing. And I love to think of like a new thought or a new belief, a new identity, and finding evidence that is already true. That has been really powerful for me. And just noticing that, I don't have to become or do anything new. It already is true. And this is why.
Can you elaborate more on that? What do you mean by it's already true?
So, let me think. Just give me an example of a negative belief. Like, people don't like me. Something you want to reframe. Well, people love and accept me wherever I go would be my new, belief that I want to integrate. And I just have that new belief. And then I write down all the evidence. How do I see in my life that this is already true? Well, when I go to the gym, people are wanting me to be there. If I'm not there, they text me, and when I go to the grocery store, I smile and people smile back. Like, I'm finding evidence in the smallest of things that this is already my reality. I just haven't opened my eyes to see that part.
Very cool. Very cool. That's a very cool trick. A very cool method. Very cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. What do you think, Kamak?
Yeah, the same. I was the same as Heidi. I would like to first of all know which part triggers me or what gives me the negative thought. And then from there, I can replace it with something positive. I mean, if you don't know really what triggers you to give you that automatic negative thought, so you won't know really what to do with that first, right? So I really want to know what really repeatedly comes to my mind, which is negative, and then triggers me at some point to make me either eat or do something, be stressed, or I don't know, being angry, as what Heidi said, and then replace it with something positive. So yeah, that's definitely something that I want to recognize my trauma, my traumas, my triggers, and then negative thoughts first.
Mhm. That's interesting. And I find that there's something that I like to use. It's called future pacing. And I also came up with a term called past pacing. That means we take on the new characteristic or new quality that we develop, and we take that into the future and test it in our imagination in future events to see how we would behave and or respond rather than react to different circumstances. And at least it's from my experience, it's good to do that at least 4 times going into the future, because the more you do something, the more you repeat a certain behavior, the more it becomes part of you. And you can also past pace by going back into the past prior to the events that you experienced, and then taking yourself through the event as a new you.
Mm.
And that is the real where the real testing to me takes place, because then I get to see, okay, how would this version of myself now interact with my past experience? And then I can derive new lessons from those past experiences as my new self. And that can be very empowering, because I no longer go through the past as a victim of the past, but now I go through the past as somebody, as empowered version of myself from the future.
Yeah, I think I love how we're kind of just building, because what you said about rewriting, basically, like I call it releasing and rewriting, because you have to create space within you. And that comes from allowing yourself to feel whatever emotion, acknowledge what happened in that moment, because that little self wanted to be heard, acknowledged, seen, felt, all of those things that they didn't get. You want to pause and give them whatever they need. And then it's like, write your own story. Like, okay, and now together we can rewrite, knowing what I know now and knowing that you have everything you need, we can then move forward in a new way.
Okay, say it again. You said no. Can you repeat the last part once again?
Yeah. So in reality, you're allowing their little self, like your past self, to be seen, heard, just whatever they need in that moment. And then knowing what you know now, you're with them so that you can give them whatever they need, help them to see that they have what they need and can ask for it, have a voice, enact that. And then together, knowing what you know now, you can give them options and help them see perspective, that there are lots of different choices to help them choose moving forward. Well, how do you want to see this?
Mm-hmm.
Because the emotion isn't there anymore, but you have to create space in yourself to be able to choose and see different perspectives. And you can't do that when there's that emotion still swirling inside.
Right. So you're kind of talking like about the inner child work, right? From what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Very similar to that, I presume.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, and what do you think, Kamak?
No word on that. I agree with you. I mean, if you just imagine the new you in a new situation, that you want to be, and or the situation that you had before but you were not healed. So what would you do right now? How would you, is it kind of the same reaction, or you will deal with it in a different way? So definitely you will be a different person when you are and deal with it in a different version, when you have a different version of you. So you won't be angry at that moment with the same situation that you had before. So totally different perspective, different reaction.
Mhm. And sometimes I find it's you can step into an avatar, a version of yourself that you would like to be or become. Because if you look at the quantum field, in reality, there are many realities according to quantum mechanics. And that means we live in a parallel universes, having different experiences as different versions of ourselves, living in different timelines. So we can choose a timeline. It's like switching a gear in a manual vehicle. You can switch to gear 1, 2, or 3, 4, etc. I drive automatic, but I think those who drive manual will get the idea. So you're switching. We can switch from one timeline to another, and there is a method that was created by I forgot the name of the gentleman, but he created a method called quantum jumping, and he actually encouraged people to switch a timeline, visualize the version of themselves, step into that version, embody that version, and then you can play with that. You can actually choose an avatar of yourself rather than sticking to an old version of us that no longer serves us in a healthy way, no longer serves us in a healthy way, because everything that we do, say, and think, no matter how we put it, it serves us in some way, right? Even the negative stuff. So yeah, that's why kids, the kids, dress up as Spider-Man and Batman and whatever else, Superman. It's a very powerful psychological method to empower people. And people can actually switch. People can imagine, a fully healed and transformed version of themselves already. How would it be like? See like? Feel like? How would the life look like? If you engage all of your 5 senses, then the mind cannot tell the difference between what's imagined and what's real. If I tell you imagine a lemon, you can see a lemon. If I ask you to cut the lemon in half, you're already probably are going to maybe get the scent of the lemon. And maybe if you squeeze the lemon and imagine you put a few drops of the lemon in your tongue, you might actually start feeling it, the saliva actually generating in your mouth. That's how powerful our mind is, right? Our mind, on some level, cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is not. And especially when it's imagined on a very realistic level. And in many cultures, if you really think about it, the life, especially in the ancient cultures of Tibet, for example, and the Taoists and the Tibetans, which have the oldest currently existing cultures pretty much on the planet, and that may be gone to 50 or 1,000 or more back. In their cultures, they talk about how I lost my track of thought for a sec here. They talk about I forgot. It might come back to me in a sec, but if you guys can remind me what I was saying, as I started diverting into the ancient cultures. Maybe it'll come back to me, but yeah, you guys can fill in if you wish. But it'll come back to me in a sec.
Yeah. Sorry. So I wanted to offer something like how to manage things in the moment. Like, Kamak, what are some of the tools that you do in with the emotional eating? What is one thing that they can do to pause, and once they become aware, what do they do?
Well, yeah, definitely there are strategies that you can take to stop that triggers, or at least something that triggers you to eat more. So one of them are just moving your body. You can, by moving your body, I don't mean that you go and then hit the gym for sure, or get dumbbell or anything else, just even simple moves, because it lowers the level of stress hormones like cortisol, let's say, and then it makes you feel more happy at the moment. So as much you can control that stress level, for sure it really eliminates that trigger symptom, which is the eating that you're replacing instead of just facing that problem. So moving definitely is one of them. And then being mindful about doing something mindful, like listening to a podcast, breath work, or sitting and just focusing on your breath. What I do myself, sometimes I do listen to podcasts or do yoga. All of them helps me just to face this emotional eating or whatever that triggers me at the moment.
Yeah. Because to Martin's, what he was talking about earlier, in the intuition, that knowing we're going to be guided in the next step, I feel like we have to first pause to become present, and we can't be present when we're in fight or flight or reliving the past. So for me, that means like pausing to breathe and take some very deep breaths, because there's nerve endings to our parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic is fight or flight, and the parasympathetic is when you're not in that. And those parasympathetic nerve endings are in the lower lobes of your lungs. So when you breathe really deep, you can actually move yourself from fight or flight into more of a powerful state to where you can be present and aware of yourself, so that you can then be open to receiving the next step or intuition or guidance or whatever feels right in that moment.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, cool. I just remembered what I was talking about. So I was talking about how everything is very dreamlike.
Mhm.
Everything seems real, but is very much dreamlike. And in ancient cultures of Tibet and of the Tibetan Buddhists and the Taoists, they've always compared life to a dream, to a waking dream, and which would be considered what we're experiencing now, and to a dreaming dream, or where we go to sleep. And they also would have something called bardo, which is a state in between when we leave this world. So we actually leave this physical world, and we also experience reality at a very dreamlike level. So yeah, everything seems very, very much like a dream, and today is gonna be a dream tomorrow, and today's day will be in 5 years from now will be also like a dream, and so is the same thing with the past. And so in some ways we are like spectators of life, of this dream, of this reality, of this dreamlike reality that we experience, and that seems very real to us. And yet on some level, what happened in the past is no longer here, right? And but the only way we can re-experience the same amount of pain is by reliving the past, because again, the mind does not know what the difference is between the real, imagined, and the real. So if we are reliving the past by going back into the same memories, and seeing ourselves experience something over and over again, it brings back the pain. And that, and obviously this is not to invalidate people's pain or their experiences. I should say negative experiences, but if we look at the past from a disassociated point of view, by stepping out of our body, if you imagine yourself in the past, in some event that you were experiencing in the past, and you literally imagine yourself stepping out of your body and seeing the event as if you were seeing it on a screen, on a movie screen, in a detached way, the way to process the emotions will be completely different.
Okay.
Similarly, you can modify the memory of the past by simply changing the color of it. You can change the memory into black and white, and it automatically changes the feeling. The atmosphere is completely different. If you change it into a much smaller image and make it farther and farther to a point where you can barely see it. So these are called submodalities. In neurolinguistic programming, they call it submodalities. And these are ways we can modify imagery in our mind and change our response, our neurological response to the memory or the image that we are reliving, revisiting, or creating in our mind. So for example, if you have, you can also change the sound, for example, of what happened. Say somebody says something but mean to you, right? Say, I don't know, somebody said, I don't know, you guys have any examples of something that someone said to you that was really negative?
Yeah.
Do you have an example? You want to? So how about you take that? You just imagine you take your hand, and imagine that this person that said something to you is literally, it's like a puppet on your hand.
Mhm.
Maybe you can give them a big red nose like a clown. Give them like big puffy colorful rainbow hair, make them look like a clown, and make them talk with a really funny voice, like you're really stupid, or something like that, right? So when you do that, like, try it, guys. Literally put your hand in front of you, and if somebody ever said something really mean to you, just repeat what they said, but with a really funny tone of voice.
Yeah.
And they may have said something really hurtful. And make it sound like a Mickey Mouse or, I don't know, Donald Duck or something like that.
Mhm.
And automatically you're noticing that you feel different about that. So we can modify our past memories the same way. Yeah. We can modify it by changing the color, by changing its size, moving it farther away. And also we can modify it by going back into the past by as a new version of ourselves and transforming that.
I like that.
And of course there's a lot more. There's like energy. We can, in Reiki, for example, you can draw like I think it's called Honsha Zeshonen symbol, and you can you can draw a chokure and say Heiki and literally send energy into the past to heal the past. And actually it works too. You can literally visualize yourself sending the energy into your past event
Mhm.
and seeing the white light enveloping that situation and purifying and healing it, including all the people involved. Because the question is, how much of the shit that happens to us is actually because maybe in the past, maybe past lifetime, potentially, for those who believe in reincarnation, for example, we maybe screwed up somehow. And this is the payback time somehow, potentially. I'm not saying it is, but what if it is some sort of a karmic debt that we have to repay in order to experience the pain that we created maybe before. Now we have to experience it for ourselves in order to know what it really means to cause certain type of pain to someone else, for example. So it's just a theory. I'm just saying that's what it is. It could be, it may not be. But what if, right? What if we were just to heal the whole thing, the whole past? By sending, you can actually send the light into your past and heal all the past events in your past and into your future and into your all the parallel lines, timelines, and all the dimensions of reality. And then you can experience a healing on so many levels, not just healing, but transformation. And the word is transformation really is the key. Not so much, the healing to me is the result of transformation. Yeah. So I like the energy work. I find that for me, whenever I use that in conjunction with NLP and hypnotherapy and the things I do, I find that and the meditations I learned, and of course breath work too, is phenomenal. By the way, I think that all kinds of breath work are very, very powerful methods as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the quickest way to change your state. And really, it's what we came into this life with. The only thing we can control in this life is our breath. If you can manage your breath, you can manage life.
That is true.
How many breath works or type of breath works we have, or for what situations you're offering that?
There's countless. There's the Kundalini yoga and different meditations that are used where they bring that life force energy from the base chakras up to, your pineal and crown chakra. So there's a breath for that. There's integrative breath work, like I was speaking about in real life situations where you pause and do different breath patterns to calm your nervous system and come back to a homeostasis. The deep meditative breath work that I facilitate and practice is more of a healing and transformational breath work where it's an activating breath pattern that is continuously done for a prolonged period of time to somewhat facilitate getting into the fight or flight response, but not really. It's more of a different state of mind and being so that you can work directly with the body and process what the body needs to do and allowing whatever needs to come up to come up. There's a lot of purging and releasing that happens with that. And there's different, breathing for training in athletics and the carbon monoxide utilization and things like that. So there's countless different types of breath work depending on what you're wanting to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very good to know. Because when you're offering it to someone who is dealing with their emotions, I would like to, when I refer them, like for the breath work, because for me, there are different, I didn't know that there are this many of them available out there. So yeah, definitely it's good to know that they have to keep record on their emotions and they know which one is suitable for their problems.
Yeah, I think giving them tools is going to be the most important part, because if we feel like there's no out, it brings on a lot of anxiety, panic, and we get stuck. We just stay exactly where we are, no matter how painful or uncomfortable, because it's the known and that's all we know. And we don't know how to get out. So giving them tools and options, and what to do in those circumstances is really powerful.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the breathing, the breath work, if you look at all the stuff that the yogis developed and the Sufis and the Taoists and the yogis of Tibet, all that the breath work with the sound and mudras and the yogic practices involving the physical aspects of the body as well. Those are definitely super powerful. And I find in particular when I combined because my background, one of my biggest passions in my life is medical qigong, and in my practice of qigong, both Taoist and Buddhist lineages, from Wudang and Kunlun, and and also different systems from Japan and Tibet. I learned. I find that some of the working with the energy, sound and breath, and the movement, the physical movement simultaneously, I found to be really, really powerful. And that's what my teachers taught me in China, and what I learned from my teachers from Tibet and Japan. Yeah, like for example, in the, if you know about in the yogic systems, they talk about of India and Tibet, they talk about the Inda and Pingala, the two side channels that run from the nostrils down the spine, down the side of the spine, down to the perineum, and they connect with the central channel in the middle, right? And which is called Shushumna in the Indian traditions. So it is known that in Tibetan medicine, that when you purify what's called the winds, or in Tibet they call it lung, from those channels, by with certain types of breathing, then which are one name for this type of breathing is called prana purification, or it could be called which is a form of pranayam, cultivation of prana breathing. But it is certain that if you do this type of practice, you literally purge out all this stale emotional energy out of the body. And usually after doing about 9 cycles of this type of breathing, you feel completely free, because it usually goes in 3 parts, where you are freeing what's called 3 poisons, because the root suffering for every human being is attachment. So attachment to what happened, what was, what is, right? And therefore grasping for something else that we want. And then ignorance, which is sometimes basically connected to making unwise choices in our life, and also the other one is anger and hatred. Those are considered usually the 3 primary poisons in Tibetan Buddhism. Of course, there's other ones like jealousy as well, and pride. But the first 3, when we purge this energy of attachment and grasping, because how can you be happy if you're constantly attached to something in the past, and you still want, either you want things to remain the same, or you're holding on to something that is very hurtful. You can't be, you're going to suffer. And you're always grasping for something outside of yourself to make you happy somewhere in the future, and especially outside of oneself. Again, that's another trap that creates more suffering. And the second one is, how can you actually be happy when you are constantly repeating the same patterns of behavior that are not serving oneself in a healthy way? And that's called ignorance. Ignorance is a very broad term in Tibetan Buddhism. And then you got the anger and hatred, right? I mean, anger itself generates a lot of poisons or toxins in our body, and it directly affects our liver. And liver in the Chinese medicine is considered to be the wood element, together with the gallbladder. And the liver is the organ that is responsible for the negative emotion is anger. That's related to the liver. Frustration, irritability. Mostly it's anger and frustration and indecisiveness. So when the liver gets irritated, we start to lose the control of the emotions in the body. And yeah, so definitely, eating things like green things, being in nature, around the trees, for example, that's very much, it nourishes the wood element, because nature gives us energy that is abundantly available. There's loads of prana, loads of chi in nature that is able to nourish our body and restore our energy field that's around our body, and that that's basically in our body as well. And nature is capable of absorbing our unhealthy energy and giving us healthy energy. And by whenever you feel really down, I mean, try it. Just lie down on the grass or sit against a tree and let the nature do its magic. Because the nature, to me, human beings are meant to be with nature. Living in a city is not conducive to human health, physically and psychologically and or spiritually, because we get cut off from nature, the trees, which are connected through their roots into the earth, and they're connected through their branches into the space, into the air, and into the sun. And trees actually, they don't just clean our air, but they also absorb our garbage energy and give off good energy to us. Trees are phenomenal for so many things, and same thing goes for the nature. So I'm a big proponent of doing practice, especially in nature, and doing like breath work and yoga and qigong, because those are really, to me, they are really phenomenal methods.
Yeah. There's not something actually I want to also add to what people should do, is that if you want to change any sort of habit, any negative habit, any negative emotion, anything you want to get rid of, definitely make sure that you stick to it at least between 20 to 30 days, because that's how the brain creates new patterns. So definitely being consistent and creating that pattern for at least 30 days, it's very, very important.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've heard about that. There is something that that we do in the things that I learned from my teachers. One of the things is that you can actually future pace, and you can, in your mind, literally go through something even like 100 days within 10 minutes or shorter, because you can literally imagine going one day, waking up the next day, repeating the same behavior, going to sleep again in your mind. Literally, you can do it in your mind.
Basically, it's like a fast forwarding, the same thing.
It's like basically, what was the movie called? Inception, I think. Inception.
Inception, yes.
You can literally do the inception in your own mind.
Well, that's interesting.
You can have one reality within another, within another, within another, within another, experiencing yourself through different type of realities. This is something that I like to play with quite a bit, and you can do that with you can do that also.
Changing the habits too,
You can
right?
do a future place like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel it's important to have an elevated emotion while doing so?
Say again?
Do they need to have an elevated emotion while doing the future pacing?
What do you mean by elevated emotion?
Well, you have to believe it. You have to believe that it's reality, that it's happening, and you can't do that when you're resonating at a lower frequency. So it's like holding love and gratitude and, being grateful that you already have that habit, that you're able to live a life because of that habit, that, you're kind of like evoking the emotions that you have while you have that habit. Does that make sense?
Right, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you definitely, I mean, as long as you can imagine yourself being, stepping into a different avatar of yourself, that's already enough. Once you step into a new avatar, you can test drive it by going into the future. Literally imagine yourself going outside of your house, of your home, and interacting with other people, seeing, hearing, how people are interacting with you and how you're interacting with them. And then, it's taking yourself to the next situation the next day, experiencing another, at least one situation per day. And you can, if you do that, you can, I usually say 4 is enough, like about 4 or at least 4, because that you're creating a pattern already. And as I said before, I also like to go in the past to test drive what I just learned in the past. So I'm creating an anchor in the future and the past at the same time.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and you can create anchors. Like once you get into new state, for example, you can create a sound anchor or postural anchor, like physical anchor. Like when you've taken on the role of your new avatar, you could, for example, come up with an anchor. For example, a certain posture, like you put your hands up and you say, "Yeah," right, and make your fists, and that takes you back in the sound that you just made, and making the fist will take you back, for example, into that state that you generated before, and you can easily tap into that.
So you're saying an anchor is kind of like giving your body a clue or a cue to get back, like this is where we're going and this is the state you're in because I'm doing this. Is that what that is?
An anchor could be anything, could be visual, could be physical, could be auditory, could be, for example, it could be just simply touching your index finger and your thumb. Yeah. It could be as simple as also visualizing your favorite flower in your mind and smelling the flower. It could be as simple as taking a certain posture and making a certain sound. So it's up to the person. I believe personally it's good to combine different anchors so that you have more than one, because otherwise you may become maybe too dependent on one, and if you forget, then at least you have got the other ones you can always fall back on. And I find, because we all learn visually, kinesthetically, and auditorily, it's good to have a visual, kinesthetic, and auditory, and even olfactory type of anchor. Because we all remember the smells. Like you remember how the rose smelled, that you probably smelled like 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anchors can be very, very helpful.
And you said to practice them 4 times in order to set them as the anchor?
At least.
Yeah.
I mean 4 times, like take future pacing oneself into the future, and going back into the past as well.
Yeah.
So what I like to do when I work with people is exactly, I like to go with them, take them through all kinds of processes to transform them, and then take them and help them to explore why they create what they created, or why they would create certain type of patterns, and then they take the lesson. They can take the lesson to the current moment, and then we can go into the future, and then from the future we can go back into the past, and then have fun transforming things. And because ultimately, it's really, even though it is meant on some level, it's we're working with our mind, but we're also working with the energies, because our mind is affecting the energy. It's affecting this quantum field. It's affecting the matrix. The things we think, the things we imagine, the things we say, they all have a ripple effect, create a ripple effect in this reality. Yeah. So that's what I like to do, is explore it on different levels, future, past, and come back to the present, and yeah, and also use, again, I like to use the breathing as well, as I said, different types of breathing, different types of sounds. You probably guys are aware of like different sounds for different chakras, right? And you're probably aware of maybe different sounds for different organs. I'm not sure.
I've heard about. I've been actually in a session of sound healing. I've never saw that before. I really liked it. It was a very good experience. that too.
Right. So I'm just thinking maybe we can give people a bit of a taste of something today. If you guys would like to do a little, maybe take people through, those who are watching or will be watching us in the future, or maybe the past. Depends how you look at it. I think I will be very good for us to maybe to share something with people out there who would like to transform and step up and make their life a better life. So anyone wants to do anything in particular, or
No, I can just only tell everyone who's watching this is that if they think they need a change in their body, in their emotions, anything, it's a hard work. If they need help, it's very brave to seek for that help. So find out what their problem is and then seek for the help from the professional. Definitely it helps. It helps them.
yeah, on
Get
one
to
level,
the result. To get to the result that they need or they want.
on one level, I think maybe it would be good to give people more realistic suggestion that it just takes work. It's not necessarily hard. It's not necessarily easy, but it takes work. It takes the desire to transform oneself, and maybe even more so, in my opinion, love.
Mhm.
Because when we have love for ourselves, we'll do the work.
Exactly.
And
If you're creating new habits, you're dealing with your traumas that has been from who knows when, from
yeah,
your childhood, from whenever, long time in your life, and it's been there. So you want to deal with that. So you have to give it a decent time to really heal and then get over it.
one thing that I like to do in the past when I was younger, and I went through my stuff that I was experiencing. I used to write. I got myself once this picture from Japan with sunflowers, and it was really beautiful. It was made of glass, and we had this wooden frame, and I would write in pen, "I love you, Martin." And I literally, every time I saw that, it was like, a message from myself to myself. And I truly spoke from my heart to myself. And then, I would put it in my bathroom, so every time I went to the sink, I would see it there. Or I had another one where I went to sleep. Yeah. So I would write down, "I love and appreciate myself as I am. I accept myself as I am." Acceptance doesn't mean we just stay where we are. Acceptance means we accept ourselves as we are at the moment, but we are aiming to step up to the next level.
Yeah.
Not necessarily be stuck where we are at the moment.
Yeah. Be compassionate with yourself. That's very important part too.
Right. So that's the thing, like that compassion, that love, because compassion is part of love. Forgiveness is part of love. Acceptance is part of love. Self-understanding is part of love. And again, we don't need to seek other people to give that to us. That is the trap. A lot of people fall into this trap looking for someone else to accept them, to love them, to appreciate them, to understand them. But that person that we are looking for is the one that we are looking in the mirror. Every time we look in the mirror, that's the very person we need to accept, love, understand, and learn to understand, and be in touch with, and have compassion for and kindness for. We are oftentimes kind to other people, but we forget to be kind to ourselves. And how can we be kind to our other people when we are not really kind to ourselves? How can we be loving to other people if we cannot love ourselves? What are we really giving people if we are empty on the inside? So that requires us to learn to give those things to our unmet needs, to fulfill our unmet needs within ourselves, so then we can share with the world. We can do it by going out there and giving our love and kindness with everybody, sharing that with everybody else. That's absolutely perfectly fine. Except, is it coming from a place of abundance within ourselves, from a place that from actual, is it love? Like, for example, in case of love, is this the love that overflows from us, or is this just love so that we are being loving to other people so we can receive love back? Right? A lot of people behave like that, right? But it's not about that. That's why so many people suffer in their relationships, because they're looking for someone else to love them and to give them what they actually should be giving themselves.
I envision a bucket, like ourselves as a bucket. And if we have holes, we can fill it as much as we want, but we're constantly going to be leaking. But if we can patch those holes by loving ourselves and integrating those parts and pieces of us that need to be brought back into wholeness, then our bucket's intact. And when we fill it, it gets full, and then we can give from overabundance. As we overflow, we're going to naturally give effortlessly, but it's not going to be effortlessly, and we're not going to feel fulfilled if we seek that from the outside.
Right. That's right. I mean, that's exactly the thing about the unmet needs. Looking for someone else to meet our unmet needs is literally one of the biggest mistakes we can make, because because it's no one else's responsibility to meet our unmet needs but ourselves. When we were kids, maybe it was our parents who were supposed to meet some of our unmet needs, but unfortunately, most people don't get their needs met by their parents, because their parents have not even met their own needs. Their own parents have not even learned to love themselves or accept themselves as they are, to forgive themselves. And so people create this generational, this dysfunctional, families. And from those families come out people who are dysfunctional on some level, that don't know how to help themselves, because I think in this society we don't really get that much help, let's put it this way, other than maybe psychology on some level. But doesn't seem to be the focus of today's society. The society focuses too much on the toys and the latest gadgets and the latest iPhone and all that stuff, right? Which are not, they're not sources of true happiness, but rather bandages and almost like addictive drugs that give us a temporary high of dopamine, and kind of divert us from being in touch with ourselves. Yeah. So that responsibility of meeting our unmet needs is our own. Otherwise, if we rely on other people, the people we marry to, or befriend, or that just creates burden of responsibility on someone else that is too heavy for them to carry. And oftentimes that's why people end up pulling away in relationships, becoming avoidant, because they don't want to carry the burden of responsibility for someone else's happiness, because they themselves cannot even meet their own need for unconditional happiness. Not even happiness, but unconditional happiness, which comes from, in my opinion, comes from gratitude, comes from kindness, comes from doing good things in the world, taking care of a bird, or doing something simply good, because that would actually brings us happiness. That's what brings us joy. including something good for ourselves.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So, so Heidi, would you like to do a little thing with people yourself, maybe for a moment?
Yeah, I can just share a really quick, super simple breath pattern that helps just become present and also calm our nervous system. It's very well known, and it's just simple. So I know a lot of first responders use this as well. So it's called the box breath. It's, like I said, it's very well known, but it's really, really helpful. So all it is you basically create a box, like inhale for a certain amount of counts. We'll just do 4 today. So inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and hold for 4. And this is really helpful if you need extra relaxation and calming. You can extend the exhale to 8 counts, and that's really helpful in going to bed at night. Or if you're coming from an anxiety attack, starting with the 4 and then to deeper that sense of safety and calmness, then I would extend after doing however many patterns that you need to get back into a good state. I would continue on and do that extra release for 8 for at least another 4 added rounds in the breath. So we'll just do 4 rounds of the box breath with 4 counts each.
Well, and is it all through the nose, or is the mouth?
Oh,
also-
sorry. So yes, we're going to do this all through the nose. And the nose is really important because the same tissues in our sinus cavity is the same makeup of the tissues in our organs. So we're toning those tissues, and breathing through the nose is actually much healthier than breathing through the mouth. So we're going to do all through the nose, in through the nose.
Why is it healthier, Heidi?
Because it's toning these membranes, and it's a filter as well. So breathing through our sinuses helps to filter the air that we bring in. And yeah, there's lots of different ways we can get into that.
Yeah, so physiologically, we have cilia. For those of you guys who would like to know the anatomy more, we have cilia in our nose that pick up dust particles and all kinds of stuff. And so, yes, our nose is a filter, and it warms the air as well.
Yeah. So just get in a comfortable space, feet on the floor, hands in your lap, and we're just going to inhale. So do it with me now. We're going to go inhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. This is the last one. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Just kind of noticing if you're more calm, more present, relaxed.
Nice, nice. So how many of those reps would you recommend for people to do?
Until, well, what's the goal? Are you having an anxiety attack? Did you have just an interaction with, somebody outside of you that made you feel emotions? Do it to a song, do 10 rounds, do 3 rounds, do whatever you feel is where you need to be. And you can always reassess. Right now, I'm at a 7. Okay, so after these rounds, do 4 rounds. I'm still at a 3 or a 4. So I'm going to continue to do that until I'm down to a 1 or a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10 on feeling, chaos, emotion, whatever it is.
Mhm.
I have the free opt-in that I sent you guys yesterday has the box breath and the heart coherence breath recordings that I guide so that they can download them on their phone. And then I guide you through them so that you can just replay if you're not feeling better. And I also have an introductory video explaining why the breath patterns.
Cool. And where can people get access to your stuff, Heidi?
We can have the links down below, and they can access those there.
Okay, we can include them in the chat for people. I that probably would be the best.
Yeah.
Or we'll include the link somewhere so that
Sounds
people can get access to it. Awesome. Do you want to do also the 4 and 8 breath, or just the box breathing for now?
Yeah, we could do 2 rounds of the exhaling for 8 counts if you want, just so that they can kind of get a feel for that.
Okay.
Okay, so we're just going to inhale 2, 3, 4. We're going to hold 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold 2, 3, 4, and inhale for 4, 2, 3, 4. We're going to hold 2, 3, 4, and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and hold 2, 3, 4, and just resume your natural breath and just kind of feel the exhaling for 8 really helps to ground and give a much deeper relaxation and presence with self, because it stretches you just a little bit more.
That's so true. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you, Heidi.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like in the Taoist Qigong, they also have, again, different types of breathing, and I would like to share with people also, and with all of us here, something from myself. So yeah, so they talk about how the by extending the inhalation, you are energizing yourself. You can it's literally energizes the system. By extending the exhalation, making it twice as long compared to the inhalation, you are sedating the system. So the longer the inhalation, the more it tonifies. The longer the exhalation, the more it sedates the body and the mind. So, and of course, the slower the breathing can be calming to the mind, and the faster the breathing, it can be very calming to the very, very unstable emotions. Like if you're really, really, really upset, you could try really fast breathing. Yeah. So there's different ways of dealing with the breath, with the emotions and the mind using the breath. So what I would like to do for you guys, and for those who are watching this, I'd like to take you guys through a little practice of prana purification. It's very similar to some of the yogic stuff. For those of you who've done yoga, who've done what is it called? Basically the purification of the Inda and Pingala and the Sushumna. But I'm gonna do it the Tibetan way, Tibetan Buddhist yogic way. There's many ways to do it. I can show you guys one variation today, and I'd like to show you guys a method of how to deal with a specific emotion holding a specific finger that corresponds to a specific emotion, and use a specific sound. And I'm quite sure, I can tell you guys, I've used this so many times, I'm quite sure you'll benefit. So, and it will actually improve your organ health as well. not just the emotional response, but also it will correct the energy flow in your organ and the channels corresponding. So so you guys make sure you're sitting comfortably. Ideally, sit at the edge of a chair or or a sofa, whatever you're sitting on. Just don't sit against the back of the chair, because otherwise you're going to be slouching and you will deactivate the muscles in your spine. The idea is so that you have a straight spine and that the muscles in your back are activated. So from here, and the key thing is that as you're sitting, the important thing here is that you want your shoulders to be relaxed. You want your chest to be open, right? Leave a little bit of space underneath your armpits, and you want your chin to be slightly tucked in, right? And also your tongue will be touching to the roof of the mouth when you inhale, and you pull up gently on the perineum up when you inhale. When you exhale, the tongue goes down, and you slowly release your perineum. So this is just the basic thing you can do. So at the beginning, place your hands on flat on top of your knees, and from here, just sway forward and back. Sway like a pendulum in order to find your center. And also, this will allow you to find any places in your body that may need to relax. So make the pendulum movement from big to smaller and smaller and smaller until you come to a stop. And then just sway sideways. So again, like a pendulum, sway, make a big sway to the side and smaller and smaller and smaller until you come again into a stop. And then circle counterclockwise. Make again a big circle and go again smaller and smaller until you come to a stop, finding your center. And then go clockwise. Again, make a big circle. This will also relax your body, your muscles in your body, give your body a gentle stretch. Finding your center. And now you should be feeling centered. And that's right, that's it. And once you found your center, I'd like you to just shrug your shoulders up, inhale, and exhale. Inhale, shrug your shoulders up, and exhale. Inhale, shrug your shoulders up, and exhale. Inhale, shrug your shoulders up, and exhale, relax. And then from here, inhale, bring your both hands up, fill up your lungs, open your chest, and exhale, slowly down. And one more time, inhale, hands up, all the way up, fill up your lungs, stretch your spine, feel a stretch in the front of your chest, and exhale, the hands go down. And one more time, inhale, opening your chest, stretch your hands up, and exhale, hands go down. This is again a little preparation so that you're sitting straight to open your chest. And then from here, we're going to place our thumb at the base of the ring finger on both sides. Yeah, just like that. And you're going to place the left hand on top of the right. Yeah. So basically, what you're doing, you're going to put your hands, trying to move the camera a little bit back so that everyone can hopefully see. Let's see. Oh, not yet. All right, so let's do it like this. So your hands are like this. Yeah, so they are basically your left hand is on top of the right. And then from here, what you guys are going to do is for the women, you're going to take your right hand and you're going to close your left nostril. And for the man, you're going to take your left hand and close your right nostril. So women close the left nostril, men close the right nostril. Okay, so let's start one more time. So women, close your left nostril, man, close your right nostril. Inhale, women inhale on the right, and man inhale on the left. Inhale, pull up on your perineum, inhale all the way up the center to the crown of your head. Pull your belly in, and then exhale on the other side. And with a slight forceful exhalation. And again, women inhale on the right, exhale left. And men inhale left, exhale right. Inhale. All the way up, pull up on your perineum, tongue to the roof of your mouth, spine straight, and exhale on the other side. So each time you exhale, it's going to be a little bit more forceful. You might want to have tissue around in case you need to blow your nose. Okay, I forgot to mention that, but that's a good thing to keep in mind in the future. So once again, inhale, women inhale right, exhale left, men inhale left, exhale right. So inhale, pull up on your perineum, inhale all the way to the crown of your head, straighten, keep your spine nice and straight, tongue to the roof of your mouth, pull up on your perineum, pull your navel in, exhale on the other side, even more forcefully. Excellent. And now bring your hand back to the original position in your lap. And just for a moment, observe your mind and how you're breathing. Notice if your breathing is any better, any smoother, deeper. Notice the state of your mind. That's it. And now women are going to close their right side, and the men are going to close their left side, left nostril. And women are going to inhale left, exhale right, and men are going to inhale right, exhale left. So let's start. Inhale, pull up on the perineum all the way to your crown. Hold, pull your navel in, tongue to the roof of your mouth, and exhale opposite side with a little force. With slight force. Again, inhale, right for men, left for women. Pull up on the perineum all the way to the crown. And you're going to exhale on the opposite side with even more force. Imagine the emotion that no longer serves you. It's leaving your nostrils like a smoke. Inhale on the right for men, left for women. Pull up all the way to the crown. Hold, pull your navel in, pull up on your perineum, and exhale even more forcefully on the opposite side. Excellent. And bring your hands back to the original position. And just observe your mind and observe your breathing. Excellent. Now this time, we're going to inhale through both nostrils. Just imagine you're going to inhale through both side channels, down to your perineum and up to the crown. Okay, I'm just going to explain first. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to inhale through both side channels. The right hand's going to come up, and you're going to close the right nostril. Then you're going to exhale. By the time you get to 90 degrees, you're going to fully exhale through your left nostril And then you're gonna let go and hold on what's called empty hold. You're not gonna be breathing in. And then you'll wait until your body wants to inhale. And then we'll repeat with the other side. All right, so let's do this. So inhale through both of your nostrils. Close your right nostril or left nostril for women. That's fine. There's no real issue here, but keep your elbow as high as you can. That's it. Open up your rib cage on the side. Exhale. That's it. Let go. Bring your hand down to your lap and do not inhale. Just wait until the body wants to inhale. Observe your mind. And when you're ready, take the breath in on the other side. On the other side. Elbow high up and exhale. Empty hold. Do not breathe in. Do not breathe. Until you're ready. And inhale. Other side. And exhale. So we are switching the hands, just in case. Empty hold. Observe your mind. And inhale again when you're ready. And exhale. Remember, guys, the elbow comes up as high as you can. So to open your rib cage. And when you're ready, go again. Pull up on your perineum, tongue to the roof of your mouth, pull your belly in, and exhale. And that's it. Just let go of anything that no longer serves you. Empty your mind. Inhale again. Pull up on your perineum, pull your navel in, tongue to the roof of your mouth, and exhale. Empty hold. And now breathe naturally again. Just resume your natural breathing and observe your mind and your breath. Has it changed? Has it become more calm or calmer, more peaceful, smoother? How is your mind? Is your mind clear? Is it empty now? That's it. And now place your hands on top of your knees, palms facing down. And here, we're going to inhale through both nostrils. Same thing through both side channels. And we're going to, as we exhale, we're going to exhale from the top of our lungs down. So inhale from the bottom up like a V, and we exhale from the top down. Okay. So you guys remember, one of the best things to keep in mind about breathing is try to breathe in forward, side, and to your back. Forward, side, and back. So you're expanding in all directions at the same time. And then when you exhale again, like you're contracting all the sides down to your perineum. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you guys one time what we'll do before we do it. So we inhale through the nose, so I'll do it first. Just watch me for a sec. Pull up on the perineum, pull up all the way up to the crown of your head. And then from here, exhale and lead from your navel, leaning forward. Leaning forward. Exhaling through your nose. And then exhale out through your mouth. And stick out your tongue. And then inhale, come back up. So that part of sticking out the tongue is also called lion's roar. And that's meant to actually help you also to expel, especially when you breathe out through your mouth at the end, to expel the residual stale air or dirty prana from your lungs, from the bottom of your lungs. Because most of the stale air remains on the bottom of our lungs. So this is actually one way to help to release that. And the tongue, our tongue has the connection to every organ in our body. So when we stretch our tongue forward, sideways, up and down, we're actually benefiting our organs, which is very cool, because that's one way to actually improve your internal organ health. It may look kind of weird, but it works. It's a very, very good method. So take a hold of your knees, hold your knees with your palms facing down, take a nice breath in, pull up. And then from here, exhale, leading with your navel forward, bend as far as you can, as you're comfortable, exhaling through your nose, drop your head down, and then exhale at the very end through your mouth. When you can no longer exhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth and stick out your tongue. And then when you're ready, inhale and slowly come back up. Let your breath move your body, not your body move before the breath. So the breath, the body follows the breath. There is a saying that when I teach the Qigong and the energy work, I always say, first comes the intention, the energy follows the intention, then comes the breath, and then comes the body. If you reverse the cycle, then your movements become very physical. They're no longer synchronized, the mind, body, and breath. They have to be synchronized in a certain pattern. And here's the intention, the energy, breath, and physical. Okay, take a nice breath in again. Pull up on your perineum and exhale when you're ready, leading from the navel. Empty your lungs. And then when you can no longer exhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth and stick out your tongue all the way out. Inhale when you're ready. Inhale all the way back up. Fill up the sides of your rib cage. Fill up your back. Shoulders down, chest open. And when you're ready, exhale. Exhaling through the nose, leading with the navel. Lean forward, keep on exhaling. Exhale and expel all that stale air out of your lungs. And now, when you can no longer exhale through your nose, once again, exhale through your mouth and stick out your tongue. Inhale. Come back up. And exhale. And open your eyes and observe how you feel, if there's any change. Excellent. So one more thing that I'd like to do is just to show you guys a thing you can do at home for, say, sadness. Let's say grief and sadness. So each of our fingers connects to different organs. Same thing with our toes. Our body has over 108,000 different channels that run through our body that were discovered more than 10,000 years ago, which actually are interconnected with our nervous system and therefore interconnected with our organs. These channels that we have in our body, they conduct energy, electricity, but they also conduct photons. And we could say chi. So, so each finger again connects to a different organ, connects to different organs connect to different emotions. Whatever emotion is out of balance, it affects a certain organ. So how do we correct the emotional state and the organ imbalance? Because I find that if you correct the emotional imbalance, for example, you meditate, right? It's good, absolutely. Do whatever works, right? But at the same time, unless we correct the internal organ imbalance, then we are always kind of working with the mind and maybe the energy and the prana, which is definitely very important. But that existing organ imbalance will always affect the state of mind. And that's something that I find that Western medicine is missing big time, because they're always working, they either send you to a psychologist or they send you to a physician to prescribe somebody some drugs and, some antidepressants or whatever, right? Or they go to a psychiatrist or psychologist and who give them some advice. So, for example, we'll just choose today, we'll just choose one finger just for the sake of time, because we all have lives, but let's focus on so the middle finger corresponds to this finger corresponds to Sanjiao, or triple warmer. It also and the triple warmer is also connected with the gallbladder. Okay, so the emotion here that is governed by this finger, there could be several different ones. So one of them is actually indecisiveness. Because when the gallbladder is out of balance, people become very indecisive and shy. But also it corresponds to the sadness and grief. So how do we help with this? We hold the middle finger, we hold that finger just like this. Yeah. And you can simply just hold the finger like that. That's it. That's pretty much it. Although I would like to share with you guys a sound you can use to help you with grief and sadness. So the color of so grief and sadness is connected to the lungs, even though this finger is connected to the triple warmer. We're using this finger according to Jin Shin Jitsu. This finger corresponds to emotion of sadness. The color of the lungs is white. The energy color of the lungs is white. So when you inhale, I want you to inhale white light, inhale joy and happiness, and fill up your whole lungs with joy and happiness, with this white light of joy and happiness as you are holding this finger. And when you exhale, I'd like you to make the sound. Because when you do that, when you make that sound, the air passes through the front part of your tongue that corresponds actually to the heart and lungs. So the air itself will trigger the receptors on your tongue to benefit your lungs. How cool is that? I think that's pretty cool. I think that those people back then were pretty clever. So take a nice breath in, smile into your lungs, smile into your lungs, smile into your heart, and say, breathe in white light. Fill up your lungs with beautiful white light and joy and happiness. That's it. And as you exhale, exhale all the sadness and grief, all that no longer serves you in a healthy way. and make the sound. That's it. That's it. And take a nice breath in again. Inhale into your lungs. Fill up your lungs with white light, joy, and happiness. Hold and smile into your lungs. Even send love from your heart to your lungs. Feel a little bit more love is always good. And exhale sadness and grief. And when you exhale this energy, think of a gray smoke. You're exhaling gray smoke. Inhale again. Inhaling joy and happiness, white light into the lungs. Smile. Smile for no reason. It's always a good thing. Why not? And why yes? And when you're ready, exhale the grief and sadness. That's it. That's it. Notice how you're feeling. And we're going to do one more, actually, maybe one or two more rounds. But this time we're going to do a little differently. This time we're going to do it not just exhaling and letting go of all the grief, but we're going to exhale of all the grief 100% plus. Not just 10%, not just 20, not just 30. Because I think sometimes, based on my experience, we tend to do what's comfortable for us. And sometimes we tend to be like, oh yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll just let go of 20% of my sadness because I'm still attached to the rest of it. I don't know, maybe I might use it for later. Who knows? But the bottom line is, I think sometimes we don't let go 100% plus. My teachers in Japan were very big on this. 100% plus, not 10, not 20, not 50, not 80, not 90, not 99, 100% plus. So when you make that intention, you will let go of that amount of energy that no longer serves you, but you have to make that intention. You have to be very clear how much you want to let go of. 10%, 20%, 40, that's a very big difference than 100. So let's try. So inhale, smile into your lungs, white light, and this time, make the sounds, again, you're going to exhale 100% out, exhaling, letting go of all that 100% plus of all that sadness and grief and all the yucky energy from your lungs. That's it. Inhale when you're ready. Inhale 100% plus. Inhale 100% plus love, joy, happiness into your lungs, into the rest of your body. And as you hold this breath, let it spread to your lungs and all over your body, into every part of your body. Let this white light and this energy of joy and happiness spread to every part of your body. That's it. And all around you. So you are now enveloped in one big ball of light, of joy and happiness, one big ball of white light. That's it. And let this light transform you. Hold on to your ring finger. And when you're ready, exhale 100% plus, letting go of all the grief, all the sadness that you've ever accumulated. Out now. And inhale. And just notice how you're breathing and how you're feeling. You can keep your eyes closed and keep on letting go more and more with each breath. And just for the end of this today's practice with me in particular, I'm going to just ask you to imagine a big red button in your mind. A big red button. And every time you press on that button, you're going to feel unconditionally happy and peaceful. And you're going to laugh and smile for no freaking reason. That's it. So imagine a big red button and press the button. That's it. Press the button. Press the freaking button. And I've pressed it once again. And the more you press it, the more you start to giggle. The more you start to smile, feel better and better, feeling happy for no reason. And press the button again, and you're smiling even more and feeling even better. And you're starting to maybe giggle a little bit more, and press the button again. That's it, press the button. That's it. And you're starting to feel 10 times happier with each time you press. And press the button again, feeling even happier, even more giggly. And maybe you start to laugh like, ha, 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 ha. Press the button. Now 10 times more. Let it out, let it out, let it out. That's it, let it out. And you start to giggle even more. Come on, press the button. Start to smile more. And start to laugh for no freaking reason. It's always a good thing. Laughing is a good medicine. And let this energy spread and circulate it through your body. Let it spread through your body. Smile. That's it. Press the button again, just in case. Just in case to surprise your neighbors. Why not? Press the button. Press the button and feel the joy and happiness spreading through your body. So from now on, whenever you think of this button, whenever you feel gloomy and down, just remember about the happy button that you can press anytime in your mind. And open your mind and come back to here and now, feeling great and refreshed. So, how are you guys doing? Good?
Yeah. Thank you, Martin.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for you.
So anything else? Do you want to share anything, Kamak?
No, thank you so much. I will definitely share my information as well. So if anyone wants to contact me for help to help them get to the result that they want, definitely I'm here for them.
And what result would you like people to achieve, Kamak?
To get over their emotional eating and to get to the shape that they want and love whoever they see in the mirror.
Awesome, awesome. And Heidi, you would like to once again offer your breathing, right? Your awesome breathing methods for people to help them to heal. Just tell people yourself, yeah.
Yeah, so I help women survivors of sexual trauma overcome the extreme reactions and emotions so they can step into a life of intention and joy. So I use a lot of different tools to do that in the coaching practice. So
Awesome.
there's lots there.
Good stuff, good stuff. So, and I offer, my help using energy work and the things that I learned over the years from hypnotherapy and NLP and so forth, plus medical Qigong. And I also teach Qigong, and obviously I'm also a healthcare practitioner, so I can do all kinds of other good things with acupuncture and so forth. But yeah, so we'll leave the links to our contacts and in the chat section, or it's going to be there somewhere with the YouTube video. So you guys will have the access to contact us, and yeah, we'll see you guys sometime in the future again. So thank you, Heidi. Thank you, Kamak.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you,
Yeah.
Heidi.
You guys have a great
Yeah.
day. Until next time.
See you.
Sounds
Be well. Take care. Bye-bye.